What was the most disturbing late-night phone call you've ever received? My friend Nancy has always been a feral little goblin. One time when we were on a walk, a cute guy smiled at me, and she literally started barking like a dog and yelling, "Predator," over and over until he practically ran away. Another time, I visited her on her first day of work in the local Starbucks when a man in front of me said good morning to her. "Don't harass me with your eye contact," she yelled before spitting into his coffee. And don't get me wrong, it was always super embarrassing. But overall, I thought Nancy was a good person who would eventually grow out of it. Spoiler alert, she never did. Because then came our first year of college when I met my boyfriend Zach. We'd been together for about 8 months, and he was the healthiest relationship I'd ever had. But before Nancy even met him, she already had concerns. Before they met, I told Zach that she was a little quirky, and it's probably best that he doesn't say anything. He laughed and said, "I got you." When they finally met, she barely said a word. She just sat there watching him the entire time, and it made everyone uncomfortable. After he left, she looked at me and said, "Something's off about him. I can't explain it yet." I told her she was overthinking it, but I could tell she wasn't going to let it go. But what happened next made me realize this wasn't just her being protective anymore. We were all hanging out together a few weeks later, and I took off my jumper because it was 100 degrees outside. Zach smirked at me boyishly and said, "You are so beautiful." I giggled because it gave me butterflies. That's when Nancy narrowed her eyes at him. Zach immediately closed his mouth. He swallowed, face turning red like he'd been caught. "This is what happens when you shave your arms," she said. I raised an eyebrow because I genuinely didn't know what the F she was talking about. Then she turned to me and explained her thought process. "This is what happens when you shave your arms," she said matter-of-factly. I raised an eyebrow because I genuinely didn't know what she was talking about. "You know," she said, angling her entire body toward me. I didn't want to say anything, but now I have to. "You've been brainwashed by the patriarchy. You shaved your arms to look like a child, and now you're supporting kitty fiddlers." I was in shock. I didn't even know how to respond to something that insane. I just took a hit of my vape and didn't say anything until a few days later. I thought she would have calmed down by then, but the second I brought it up, she started crying and saying, "I'm just trying to protect you like I always have." She made herself the victim, and I realized there was no getting through to her, so I did what I should have done a lot sooner. I put distance between us. A whole week went by without us speaking, but then came the phone call. It was late at night, and Zach was sleeping over. My phone lit up with Nancy's name, and my stomach dropped. Part of me didn't want to answer, but something made me pick up anyway. When I did, I put her on speaker so Zach could hear. Her voice was different, calm, almost rehearsed. "The only reason a boy could ever like you is because you look like a child. So the only reason Zach likes you is because he's a predator, and you are 100% to blame for his behavior, because you shave and refuse to gain weight." Zach's face twisted in disbelief. I tried to end it. "Nancy, I'm really tired. Can we talk about this later?" But she interrupted me. "The only reason I'm telling you this is because I love you. Please think critically for once. You're a victim." By this point, I was ready to hang up and never speak to her again, but her rant was so unhinged that part of me wanted to hear what she'd say next. And then she said it. "You know why you shave, right? It's because being hairless makes you feel safe. It makes you feel like that moment when you were a child and your neighbor stole your innocence didn't happen. But that's exactly what predators look for." My heart dropped. She was using my trauma against me. I hung up, and Zach held me while I cried my eyes out. And when I finally looked up at him, his expression had changed. There was something cold behind his eyes, like a quiet anger. "Soon you won't have to worry about her anymore." I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't want to know. Days passed, and Nancy stopped texting me. She stopped posting on social media. No one has heard from her since. I never asked Zach what happened to her, and I don't think I ever will.